Good morning and welcome to Web Ready Blueprint System live broadcast. What do we call it? WRBP Radio.
WRBPS Radio, live from the top of the Wasatch Mountains. Anyway, I don't memorize the rest of it.
Welcome. So we're here today. We've got Mitch Nelson with us again from Biz Ingenuity. We've got Tannen Graham, who is kindly allowed us to go through her website and do a critique so that all of you can learn more about what is good and what is not.
Volunteered for the hot seat today.
I
am the victim
totally
today. Yes, I am.
We've got Marie Cannon that's here to learn, and Marisa Vandenbos, I'm saying that right, that is also here to join us from Web Ready. So we're ready to kick off.
What am I, chopped liver?
Yeah, Dennis! Well,
Seriously.
everybody knows you.
Oh! Scary.
Where's your hat?
All right, we're ready to go.
And our Google guru, Dennis Duce. So, all right. So I'm going to turn the time over to Mitch Nelson from Biz Ingenuity to get us started from the very basics.
Yeah, absolutely. So today the idea is we're going to start out talking to Tannen a little bit about some of the elements of her site. We're going to talk about everything from the code of her site, elements that are affecting SEO, and we're going to kind of go in depth with those things specifically about her site. But I think there's a lot of things that everyone can learn and take and apply to their site specifically. I'm going to share some tools. I'm going to share some different things that we can use.
So mute yourself.
Yeah, I am. Sorry.
So let's go ahead and get started. So
Yeah.
your site, why don't you share with us the URL and tell us a little bit about your business, and then we'll dive in from there.
Perfect. It's myPreDiabetes.com, and we sell kits that test for diabetes, prediabetes, testosterone, thyroid, and estrogen. And so I would call it a product site as well as a informational site. We try to pack it full of information with prediabetes so that people will go there to learn about the disease.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, we're going to start out digging into this, and I've used a couple tools to analyze this site today. I'm going to share those with you. So the first one is I've generated an audit using a third-party software called Raven Tools. And what this does is it goes in and analyzes the code and says, okay, what is preventing this site from being indexable by search engines, specifically Google? And then you don't have to use Raven Tools. There's tons of tools out there. In fact, Raven Tools is a little bit highlightation it provides, but a lot of third parties out there that do that. And
what do they do to find them? Dennis?
Search.
Google it.
Google it. Google Raven Tools.
Yeah. Raven Tools or any website audit.
Okay.
Third-party website audit software. So, and again, I think the benefit of a third party, I see web designers and SEO companies bring potential clients and clients reports that were generated in-house, and there's some value to that, but they can be skewed to accomplish what, if I'm trying to sell you a website, I'm going to bring in all the negative information that I can about your website. But if it's a third party providing that information, then it's a little more objective.
Right.
So I definitely recommend if someone brings you a report, make sure that you know where it's coming from. And to be honest, probably most people grab that third-party software and just rebrand it as their own and try to tell you that they did, they ran a report. So most are going to be fairly objective, but just kind of be aware that whoever is bringing the report to you, make sure that you understand their motives,
Right.
because they're going to try to.
This is different than Google Analytics.
This is different than Google Analytics.
Okay.
Yes, Google Analytics is going to tell you what's been happening on your site.
Okay.
So it will tell you traffic yesterday, it will tell you traffic a month ago, and it will tell you the things that people searched for to find you yesterday and last week and a month ago. What what these audits will do is it will tell you what's preventing people from finding you in the future, or maybe what you're doing well.
Okay.
So let's
RavenTools.com.
RavenTools.com. Yeah.
Okay,
And
so I put it in the.
it's not free.
Comments.
It's not free. It is a paid service. I believe there are some free ones out there. And every service offers its own set of functionality and whatnot. So just kind of do a little research on that. Decide what works for you. You know, if you're on a budget, you may not want to spend $1,200 a year. I think we pay for that tool. So
Wow.
But let's go ahead and pull that up and dive into it. So, let me share this.
One of the good news, the bad news, the ugly news. Which one comes
Well,
first?
here's the summary. Can you see that, Dennis? In this camera here?
More or less.
More or less, is there a glare? Okay. So the summary is when we ran an audit on your site. Now this isn't terrible. This is about par with what I see on a regular basis. So,
Okay.
so
So I'm
these
normal.
numbers.
I'm normal.
Very normal. Congratulations.
Yay! That's better than what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah. So, but there are things. I mean, a good site or an excellent site is going to say zero across the board.
Well, it's going to say zero. I don't get points for talking 3,600.
No, that's yeah. That's
Going the wrong way.
that's like golf strokes right there.
Well, shoot. Okay.
But that's not it. So we're going to cover in this report visibility issues,
Meta descriptions, which I have no idea what that means.
meta issues, which cover there's several things that meta data encapsulates. So we're going to talk about all those things and where those errors are coming from. That's actually a little high. 75. Now you have an e-commerce site, right? You could have products.
I do.
So that may be a little bit more normal because an e-commerce site has more volume to it than a normal information site. So,
Okay.
content issues, you've got 72 content issues. We'll talk about that. Like we've talked about in the past on in other workshops that we've done. Content's about 80% of SEO. I mean, if you're not doing your content right, then you've got a serious problem. So that's definitely one that you want to jump on fairly immediately.
I'm ready.
And then link issues, which have to deal with backlinks, also outbound links, and internal links from one page to another within your site.
Yeah, I haven't done that.
So, well,
I didn't know how.
that's not just volume. It's also there may be links that are broken.
Yes.
And you'd be penalized for that because Google looks at your site and says, are they taking good care of it? And if you're not taking good care of your site, then they're going to assume that the content maybe not up to par and other things like that. They're just going to dock you points and therefore not rank you as high. In the image issues. So, and then image issues. That's the most common one. That number is always high. Because people upload images and they don't think to name them right. They don't think to put the meta information on the images. As of now, and actually, Dennis told me that there's some fun things in the pipeline with Google. But,
you're talking about search beyond terms
image
and
search.
Yeah, the image search itself. Yes.
Yes.
Face recognition, did you say?
What is
Face recognition, but it's
exactly.
more than face recognition. They actually have gotten to the point where they, on Google Plus anyway, they've been beta testing this for a while. They're able to search things like wheel, bicycle, drink,
and pull that out.
and yeah. So if you go to if you auto back up your photos, which everyone in this room does because I've trained you to do that. Go and run a search for some obscure thing, dog, flower, and you'll be floored at what comes up. They're trying to perfect that. The goal is to actually roll it out in Google Search soon, but it is running on Google Plus already, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
As of right now, they don't have that. so it's important to have your metadata, your
images.
Your images. Well, within the images, you have metadata as well.
Okay.
So you have alt text, you have description text, and you have your file name. And all those things can help you with SEO, or they can hurt. If most people don't pay attention, you just drag and drop into WordPress, and it's so easy to upload an image to WordPress that you kind of forget that those things are there and important, and it's easy to skip over because they're there on the side when you're working with WordPress, but they're not necessarily they don't make you fill them. So that's.
The good news though is I can go back in and change them all, right?
Yeah. So 3,600
That's the beauty of a website, just that it's constantly changing and hopefully improving.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
We should probably preface this with you built this site yourself using GoDaddy, right?
GoDaddy is my host. I have a horrible web designer. It's a what do you call it? Template. And then I pick the colors and I pick the round buttons because that's the way I want them to look. And I had to fire that web person because I didn't follow the blueprint system because I didn't know it was alive. And now I'm running it myself, and unfortunately I use independent with the tricky stuff, but I'm doing all the posting.
Yeah.
So that 3,600, that's all me.
Which is great though. Not a better way to learn.
Yeah.
Right?
Again, that's not you're not failing. That's quite normal. It's just things we can work on.
I'm very guilty of the drag and drop. Oh, that's a pretty good job.
Yeah,
Put that in. Yeah, exactly.
And just so you mentioned you're on a WordPress template. That's fine. Most people, I think, some statistic out there like it's like 60 or 70% of their webs on WordPress. And that's awesome. I mean, we use WordPress for our clients on a budget. It's a fantastic tool. And those templates are awesome because you can pull any design you want and just update it immediately.
Exactly.
And with a few clicks, you can have an entirely new website and a refresh and a rebuild. So that's a good thing. And we'll dive into that. Actually, another tool that we're going to talk about here in a bit. We'll dive into that.
Okay.
But let's
you're
check.
going to tell me what those numbers are supposed to be at some point?
They're all supposed to be 0.
Oh, I got a lot of work to do.
Those are supposed to be 0. So these are issues. Total issues 4,763.
Okay.
So you got your homework cut out for you. 3,600 issues or images to go.
At least I have images. I'm happy with that. I just gotta go fix them.
Yeah, there you go.
Help you get down. Makes a big difference.
No, and it's additive. So as you work on it, your site will get better. It'll start to rank a little bit better. This isn't the be all end all of ranking, but this will definitely push you in the right direction. Now, this gets your site optimized, and then we can work on getting more content up, like building those backlinks. All the things that we know are important. This is just preparation.
Right.
This is cleaning house.
Yes,
so
I gotta clean house.
We can work on that.
But we still have a house to clean. I'm right.
Exactly.
I'm clean. That's spring clean.
Exactly. That's right. And now you're going to know what to do.
So I'm going to read to you the description in the report, as well as the issues that we have, and then we'll chat a little bit about the ones. I may read several of them. I may not have a comment on some of them, but we'll stop and chat about some of these as we go along. So the first one I want to start with is visibility issues. We have 52 visibility issues. 28 page errors were detected. A page server error indicates a problem with your website's hosting provider. Your website's hosting provider delivering a page to a search engine robot. That's a problem with the hosting provider delivering a page to search engine. Now that can be caused by a number of things. This can be caused with problems on a page or problems with the hosting server itself. So it can either be on your end or the business.
I'm gonna assume it's on mine.
Probably. The sad thing is GoDaddy won't do anything to help you with that.
Okay.
So there's.
So it can be fixed now with some coding.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Now.
We've got a question from the audience that I just noticed from Roxanne Davenport. She's asking, and honestly, I was working on overlays, so I don't know where this fits into the conversation. But she's asking, do you check for copyright on articles used to post for info?
Great question.
Yeah, absolutely. I would, well, and we'll get into this a little bit more when we get into the content section, but that is a great question. I would never copy paste an article. And the main reason is that you will be, for lack of a better word, you'll be punished by Google for it. They index every site on the web, on the visible web. And so if you can find an article by Googling something, that means Google already knows about it. And if you grab that article and paste it into your site, they're going to see and know exactly what you did, and they're going to dock you points for it. So that's not only not helping you, it's hurting you. Your content should be original. Now,
but linking to
it's fine. Referencing it is awesome. Quoting it, as long as you don't get it.
Grab the first paragraph or two, throw it inside quotation marks, add your own thoughts a little before, a little after.
Yeah, you don't want more than, I think it's like 15-20% of your site or your page to be duplicate content. So you can quote stuff, just don't make it, don't start it with a quote and end it with a quote metrical article. That doesn't work. You'll be penalized for that. So, and as far as images go, they don't really have a way of knowing if an image is copyrighted or not. So it's kind of the honor system there, but you can get in a lot of trouble for using copyrighted material. I've seen people get cease and desist letters for using copyrighted material. So just be careful with that.
Yeah, it's always better to try and make sure that you're clear with that.
Yeah, you gotta be legit with it. So I would.
Now, if you're good with Photoshop, you can change enough of the photo that you've made it your own.
You can.
Wow, that's way over my head.
Yeah. Which doesn't mean just putting text over it.
No, that does not mean you've got to change. Is it 20% of the photo in design? So you got to change size. You got to change maybe the coloring or the lighting to the photo, or crop it a little bit. Throwing words over the top of it helps. One thing I like to do is I have a way of changing photos to a 2-color format. And I always use the same 2 colors, so that's a major change to a photo, and I will often, make that change if I really want to use a photo and change it to these 2 colors.
Sorry, Dennis, can we take it down to kindergarten? If you go to freeimages.com and set up an account, or you go to a paid site, if you paid for it or downloaded it from the free images, you're fine, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't have to do what you just said because I didn't get half of that.
Royalty free. Just make sure that whatever site you're getting it from says, royalty free or non-copyrighted, public domain. Those type of keywords mean that you can use it.
And royalty free could potentially mean that you have to actually put in a link. So read and it's every individual. Every photo has its own terms. So you could use it unilaterally without any question, or you may have to credit the photographer, or you may have to credit and link the photographer. I think those are the only 3 things that come up in those, right?
Yeah, that's the most common.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So just make sure that you read the terms of
So going to Google Images and just copying that image.
Yeah.
Is not.
You better know how to use Photoshop if you're going to do that.
Yeah, that's a little sketchy. The best option, in my opinion, pay for stock photos. If you pay for them, you don't have to. You bought a license to it. You don't have to reference anything. So
I put some in the comments. Big stock, high stock, deposit photos.
All great. All great. There's 123 stock or something like that.
Isn't that a Utah company, 123 stock?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I thought it was.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that. But yeah,
123 stock with the numbers, right?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of them out there.
Okay.
But that was a great question. I appreciate that.
Can I go somewhere else with that?
Yeah.
Does that apply the same, like if you're posting it on Facebook other than the website?
I don't know.
For company Facebook?
Facebook, you're not usually using it for commercial purposes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where you usually get in trouble with copyright, is if you're using it for commercial purposes, that you're going to gain something from commercially.
Okay.
Right.
So like
Something
if we were, well, yeah, but I mean, like if we were going to promote my, Web Ready Blueprint System workshop, and we used a photo that, had copyright on it. I'm using it for my personal gain, right, or for the company. So that would be an example where somebody could come back and say, sorry, but you don't have permission for that. So just that's the best rule of thumb, I think.
If I have a problem and I need to clean it up, so what do I have to do?
Yeah. So let me go through all the videos actually under each of this.
I just want to put a question of Roxanne Davenport's, and I just want to point out that we had done that, which was if you can share it to Facebook, if they let you share it to Facebook or Google Plus or Twitter, it's probably okay. And the reality is that's not actually the case. We had the conversation about what, that you may have license rights to share it that way because it's less likely to be making you money directly. And so that's where copyright starts to get sticky.
Yeah.
So don't bank on they've got a share button for the photo.
Yeah, exactly. And it comes back to there's the ethical side of it, which is if it's not yours, don't take it. But let's just to use an example. Let's say you painted this beautiful painting and you're selling it in art galleries and it's featured in a magazine. Well, if someone tears it out of the magazine and puts it in a frame and sticks it in their house, you probably don't care that much, right? Facebook, Twitter, G+, stuff like that, you probably don't care that much if it's your product. But if someone's photocopying it and using it for flyers to sell people, a massage or whatever the case might be, then it starts to get a little offensive because they're using it,
for their own gain
that you've done for your own, kind of for your livelihood, to put food on your table, and people are using it for their own gain. So to kind of put it into perspective, that's where you start to get in trouble if you start to use images that someone else has paid for, whether it's the photographer or the corporation that's commissioned the photographer, and you start using it for your own gain without proper license. So just be careful of that. Okay, so visibility. We talked about the 28 issues that you have, and we can dive further. Raven Tools will actually dive further into this. I just exported kind of the overview out of because we only have an hour today, so we'll dive into that. But there are errors. There are 28 errors in your site that are probably in the code, and it's either caused by the code of your site or by the host. Now let me clarify that it can be actually, and it probably is, the connection between the two.
Okay.
What I don't think is happening because GoDaddy does not provide compatibility monitoring for the hosting service. You are possibly running older plugins, older versions of plugins, older versions of WordPress. They may be on their server. It's kind of like this results, so there may be compatibility issues at some point. GoDaddy simply does not offer compatibility
as the customer. Now, there are hosting companies out there who offer compatibility monitoring. We'll just do it for you for the monthly fee you're paying. So that's something to kind of think about. I know we've talked a lot about over the last few workshops. There's a lot of hosting companies out there that just sell you the bare minimum of hosting. But I've used the analogy before. That's like buying crude oil for your car. Does it have in there what you need? Yeah. Is it a lot cheaper than the premium stuff that is actually useful? Yeah, it is. But what you need is gasoline, not crude oil. So we may need to look at some of the options there as far as actually finding a host that will take care of these things for you. This stuff you shouldn't have to worry about, and you wouldn't know. Average person wouldn't know how to fix those errors anyway. So
I was just going to say, and one thing to note is that there's a lot of different hosting packages available from companies like GoDaddy as well. So it might be what you purchased, but it's always, I think, the best option to be working with someone who knows what they're doing. A web designer that can make sure that all those things are in place and they're taking care of you that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something that
testimonial time. These guys do the hosting for my new website, so.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing you're not gonna be able to fix on your own. you're gonna need a professional to fix that. So 24 pages have redirects. So that's an issue. You got 24 issues on redirects. Redirects are used for pages, folders, and domains that have moved. Search engines recommend using 301 redirects for content that may have been permanently moved. However, other types of redirects may be appropriate for the changes you're making on your site. So if you decide, I've got a page over here on myPreDiabetes.com/about, but you want to change it to About Us. Well, that's a different page, and Google looks at them as different pages. So it's been indexing About, and now all of a sudden you've taken that content and you moved it over here, and there's nothing on About. So when people, if /about has been ranking, and people are clicking on it, they're going to get there and there's nothing there. You can do what's called a 301 redirect, and it will point you over to the new page. There's plugins for WordPress. This is why I love WordPress, because it makes it something that you used to have to hire a developer for. There's plugins for 301 redirects that you can get. Just Google it, or go into the plugin search within WordPress and just search for 301 redirect. There's free plugins where you put in the old URL, myprediabetes.com/about in this example. Put in the new URL, myprediabetes.com/aboutus, and it will create that redirect.
How do I know, though, which ones are not linked anymore or moved?
Well, you moved them. So when you move something, or your web designer.
It could have been the web developer in the very beginning, and it just never has gotten cleaned up because maybe I changed the name of the site. So do I have the diagnostic tool?
Do the details specify what pages aren't redirected? I mean, if you can count them.
Yeah, the audit will. Not on this version that I exported, because I exported kind of the overview. So this is all the information I have here at the meeting today. But you can export a version from Raven Tools specifically that goes into which pages they are. So this is a free service we provide for all of our customers. So
is that the only way then for her to know which pages don't have those redirects?
It's the easiest way.
Right.
You could dive in and you could look, at what's being indexed. It may be the only way to see what Google is actually seeing. So I would definitely look into something like that.
Okay.
So.
That's the last thing you want. It's this 404 or those, different error messages that come up, and
exactly.
Not taking people where they want to go.
Exactly. Okay, and 0 pages were blocked by robot.txt. So you have a file on the server. It's invisible to to the average user, but it's there. It's called robots.txt, and it tells Google if there are pages that you don't. This is a specific page that I want to index. Google already knows not to index anything that's behind a password. They don't do that. But if there's something in front of a password that you're just like, I don't really want this showing up on the search engines, you can tell Google that in robots.txt. And I'll read the description here. A robots.txt file permits and restricts access to your website by search engine robots that crawl the web. These bots are automated. Therefore, and before they access your website, they check to see if the robots.txt file blocks them from accessing certain pages. So, you can technically, if that's done wrong, or if you're blocking too many pages from Google,
doing that right
no, you've got 0 errors there.
Oh, okay. That's the only one I got 0.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I don't even know what you're talking about, so we're good. We'll just keep
Yeah.
doing whatever. Zeros are good. Zeros are good.
yeah, 0s are good, and no malware found, which is a positive thing.
That's good.
Now that can change at any time. You need to make sure that you have I call it a 911 plan in place. If you get hacked, if there's malware put on your site, that could be potentially negatively affecting people when they visit your site, via downloading a virus or whatever the case might be. It could also phish information. So you need to make sure you have a plan in place. If that does happen, what will you do to, what's your plan of action to get that fixed? right now, as far as I can tell, you don't have any software in place or any service in place to prevent that. That's something I would look at. Just to as a preventative measure, as insurance. By the way, I want to throw out another tool that I'm using real quick, because I've mentioned a couple times that some things that I am able to see here that you're probably wondering how I can see it. The website builtwith.com, BUILTWITH.com. It's a free service. It's amazing. You just go in.
Sorry, say that again.
Built with BUILTWITH.
Is it website built with? Okay.
Yeah. .com.
Just builtwith.com.
And when you get there, you just type in the site that you're curious about. In this case, I put in myPreDiabetes.com, and it provides me with all of this data. Can you see this, Dennis? Cool. So it tells you the web server, the hosting. I can see that your web server is an Apache server. That's how I knew it was Apache. I can see that you're hosting with GoDaddy, where your name servers are, where your email server is. I can tell that you're using WordPress as your content management system. That it's a PHP framework, which goes along with WordPress. That makes sense. That's what WordPress is built on. That you're using Infusionsoft for your analytics. I can see all this stuff. I can see, down to the JavaScript libraries. I can see plugins that you're using, audio, visual, apps and media. Your widgets here that you're using with WordPress. I mean, literally everything about the site you can see. So that's something that you might want to look into if you're not sure, if you've had a bad experience with a web designer and you're not exactly sure what they're using here or there. That's an easy way for you to jump on and say, oh, my domain's registered with GoDaddy. My hosting's at GoDaddy. So those are things that are useful there. But as far as jump back into where I was here.
Can I just jump in really fast too and just say that this is another good point to bring up in terms of you need to make sure, especially if you're doing this yourself, if you're working with a really good web designer and developer, a company that's taking care of you, they're going to take care of all this stuff. You don't need to worry about it. But when you're doing this on your own, you need to make sure that you are updating your site, your WordPress as well. Because a lot of times, if you don't, it'll get way behind, and that will create security issues, etc. as well. Also, I was typing this in here, and so I got a little distracted, but you said make sure you have a backup plan. Did you tell her what to do for that?
No.
How do you create a backup plan?
There are third-party services out there. So, Biz Ingenuity, we just, Dennis is one of our clients. We provide daily backups of his website. We provide hack and virus protection. So if he does get hacked, Dennis is taken care of. He doesn't have to worry about it. We take care of that. If there's malware on a site, which we can see on a daily basis because we've got this software plugged into a site, running reports constantly, we can see that and we fix it in most cases before he ever realizes that it's happening. You don't have that, and I can tell that with built-in or built with. So if that happens to you, then all of a sudden you have an emergency, and it's in this case it's probably because you didn't know. But in any case, it's a lack of preparation, whether that's through not knowing or just neglect. So there's if your host doesn't provide it, then you want to go out and you want to find third-party softwares that can provide daily backups of your site, or at least weekly. I mean, if you're not changing your site a whole lot, but you've got a lot of content on there, so I would say daily, and then someone who can provide that hack and virus protection. Third-party services out there start around $50 a month and go up from there for that service. Probably the cheaper direction to go is find a host that just provides that, because then you can take advantage of the fact that they've bought that license for all of their clients, and you get it. You get that discount. For example, our hosting, Dennis is paying us $49 a month. Well, he'd pay that just for the hack and virus protection. Yeah, but he's getting all that stuff. So, find a host out there that's going to provide
every
this.
month. I just want to push this up.
It's true. He doesn't pay every month because he provides enough referrals that for every referral that converts into a client, we give a $50 credit on your bill. So
I get 1 month free
every time he brings in a every time he brings in a referral.
To
So
any of their clients.
it does.
Yeah. So I'm just pointing it out because you can get a lot.
Yeah, and which I love Dennis because I love providing his website for free for him because it's bringing me more clients. So that's something to think about.
I'm typing in the comments. Sorry to interrupt again. I'm typing in the comments a reminder, and this is something maybe we could point out. What questions you need to ask a web designer? Because you need to ask them if they're providing these things for you. So whereas Tannen's doing this for herself right now, this is great for her because she knows what she needs to do and what she needs to look at. But if you're using a web designer or developer, then you want to make sure you ask them these questions and know what they are and are not providing.
Yeah,
so we want to probably point that out as we're going through these as well. So take notes and make a list of these questions because they're really important.
Well, some of this might be you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So this is a discovery period. Don't let it overwhelm you. There's solutions. Everything we're talking about, there's a solution for. So it might be a little bit of one-on-one, but we're going to try to cover as much of this on air as we can because I think this can be helpful to everybody. So let's move on to metadata. So you had 785 issues with metadata. Because of time, I'm going to start cruising through this a little bit faster.
We have next week too.
Yeah, we may. This may turn into a 2 week. Dennis was right.
I think it will.
That was supposed to be planned.
This may turn into a 2-week thing.
Dennis knows his stuff.
Dennis does know his stuff. That's true. I just need to start trusting Dennis. Not that I didn't. I'm sorry.
Trust his expertise.
Yeah.
We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I forgot the wild card of other people in the room.
Yeah, there you go.
And other people in the audience interrupting me.
No worries. This is good. I mean, I want this to be an educational experience for everybody, including people online. So, yeah, absolutely.
700 meta.
785 meta issues. So 22 pages have duplicate page titles. That may be related to our 24 pages that don't have redirects. So you probably had a bunch of pages somewhere that he changed the URL to, or you changed the URL to, that you just moved the page without doing a redirect, but left the page out. Okay? So you have 22 pages that have duplicate titles, page titles. Remember we talked about duplicate content being a problem. It's also a problem selling shoes needs to be relevant, and Google does that by saying, okay, if there's too much duplicate data, they're just trying to game the system. They're not really trying to provide information to their clients.
And explain again what metadata covers, so our audience knows exactly
so
what you're talking about, because that's one example.
Metadata is a place in the code, so it's not visible to the average viewer. It's a place in the code where you can tell those Google robots that come and scan your site what your site is supposed to be about. And you can do that in different places. You can do that in the titles. You can do that in the descriptions. There's meta tags that you can use to help with keywords. It used to be back in the days when Yahoo was compile. That's who's that? Yahoo.
Yahoo.
That's all they used for search, and that's they kind of built their empire around that metadata search, where I could go in and say, hey, my site's about shoes, when really it's about socks. So people were starting to game that system, and Google rose to the top, and Yahoo became enormous. It's actually a really cool story. A company that just started from scratch was able to overtake this huge beast in one of the fastest growing areas at that time.
Well, what's interesting about this story, though, is how it is that Yahoo stays alive to this day.
Right? Well, they provide the weather.
That's true.
It's a good place to get the weather now.
80% of their gross revenue comes from their 20% ownership in another company called Google.
I didn't know that. That's
Yahoo
funny.
is only on life
That's
support
funny.
because of Google.
Yeah, it didn't.
I mean, it's not life support. They invested in Google in the early days.
Before that happened, I had heard rumors
Oh,
that,
writing on the wall.
Yahoo tried to sell, or Google tried to sell to Yahoo for something like
They did.
$300,000
Yeah.
in the early days.
And that's how
and
this ownership
denied.
came up. They denied the deal,
Yeah.
but then Yahoo plugged in the technology, and so for about 3 years, a Yahoo search was in fact a Google search.
Right.
And it was during that 3-year or 4-year period of time that Yahoo was, I believe, paying extra money, more than Google wanted for the service, and slowly buying ownership.
Oh, okay.
Is what was happening.
Okay.
So really,
Makes sense.
the truth is Google was on life support from Yahoo.
Yeah. And now they're Google.
And now it's flip-flop.
So,
So funny.
well, and what Google did that was unique and revolutionary was they started looking at the content more than the meta information, because you can cheat the meta information, but you can't cheat the content without being pretty obvious to your viewers that you're cheating the content. With that said, metadata is still important in that it's used kind of as a table of contents for your site, where the robots come in, they'll look at the metadata and say, okay, this is what they're telling me the site's supposed to be about. Let's see if it really is about that, and you get a score accordingly. They've got this big algorithm that they run. But
So just on blog posts alone, if you've named your blog post with some of your keywords, and your keywords show up in your blog post,
yes,
and then if you're really good, you've got a link going out to one of your other pages, and then in the meta description, you put the same thing that you put up top. I mean,
you shouldn't have a problem.
Mine is like prediabetes. It's going to be about prediabetes.
Right.
Like, there's only so many keywords in prediabetes. Do you get in trouble for putting that in the meta description per each post?
No.
Because it might be prediabetes diet, and it might be prediabetes medications, it might be but prediabetes is just showing up all the time. I thought that.
No, it's okay to have that keyword in there. What this is talking about, when it says duplicate page title, it means exact duplicate page title. So you've got one page that says about us over here. You got another page over here that says about us. They're two separate pages, but they have the same title. Exactly. Or
It's myPreDiabetes.com /
yeah, about on one and about us on the other one. Yeah, exactly. So the page, the page title, and you can put that in WordPress. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It can't be exactly the same as anything else.
Got it.
Have to be unique.
And one thing to note here too, because you're doing this, when you go in on your WordPress template, it's got a place in there that asks you for these descriptions, and you can make them. I think very much as long as you want. You don't want to go too long.
They all
But
have
you
word
can,
content.
but you can put all that in there. So, you know, for those of you who don't know that, make sure if you're doing this yourself that you go in and you fill all those in with your keywords and descriptions about your business.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay, so 22 pages have duplicate page title. 243 pages are missing a meta description. So you need to, the meta description a lot of times is used when you Google something, you'll see the page title comes up. That's the blue link that you usually click on to get to that page. But then below that you have some gray text, maybe 3 lines of gray text. That's your meta description. So Google's actually using that to show people what your site's about, but it's also using those words for the robots to figure out what your site's about and rank you accordingly. So
So how do I go and find all those 204 pages? Now I have to assume that some of them might be duplicate.
Well, you're going to need to run an audit. And I can run a little more detailed audit for you. But you're going to need to run an audit to go in and take care of that.
Okay.
So 266 pages are missing Google Analytics. I would guess that that's probably the amount of pages on your site.
Probably.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that Google Analytics is installed correctly.
Back to the conversation we have had many times on this show, Mitch. If there's a tool Google makes, use it to your benefit, and none more than Google Analytics.
Yeah.
That is at the raw core of getting you found. So there is no other tool you should be more embracing than analytics.
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree with that more. If Google's going to give you any favor points, they're going to do it if you're using YouTube with your embedded videos, and Google Analytics is your analytics engine. Now, you're using Infusionsoft. That's good, because you get the analytics, but Google isn't necessarily getting that data. If you plug in Google Analytics, Google can get that data and use it
Are
to
the
your
two going to
favor.
fight each other, or can I just install
You can install both of them.
They're going to give you different information, each of them, and honestly, Google Analytics is a little difficult to understand. So you may find that you just keep looking at your Infusionsoft, because it's more legible, especially to the layman. But you want to be gathering that data in a way that you're sharing that data back with Google, because that's going to increase your search. The more they can know about your website, the more likely they are to serve you up.
Yep. You're increasing your visibility to that.
Do you know how to do that?
No.
So that would be a good question to cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how much he wants to give away today, or if we're going to come back next week. Yeah.
Well, and some of this stuff we just don't have time on air to go deeply into, but I definitely want to touch on the things. What I'd like to do is just create awareness about these issues, and then people can seek out professionals. I mean, my email address is mitch@businessgenuity.com. If you have specific questions, feel free to email me. We can get in touch. But yeah, I mean, you and I will have to sit down in a much deeper conversation about your website and dig into some of this stuff a lot further. But this is hopefully raising awareness about some of the issues that are out there. So 6 pages have a page title that's too short or too long. Search results limit the number of characters they display in page titles. So you may have seen page titles in a Google search that say a lot of the title and at the end of it ... Google truncates that because it's too long to display on the format of their search results page. So what they recommend is it's considered best practice to keep page titles to a length between 10 and 70 characters. Page titles. Okay. 248 pages. Yes.
10 to 70 characters. Is that the whole thing, including the URL portion, or is that so?
We're not talking about the URL right now.
Okay.
So the URL is different from WordPress. Actually has a place where you can type in the title of the page. That's going to be, WordPress will automatically add that to the page description, or to the meta information. Excuse me.
So like this, I wrote a blog post about this show, and it's called HOA Live Web Presence Review. That's the portion that needs to be more than 10 and less than 70.
Exactly.
But it doesn't include the dennisduce.wordpress.com.
No.
Which is where I...
No. Yeah, the URL is going to be separate. WordPress, and I know that's confusing because WordPress actually has a really convenient tool where it'll take the page title that you type in, and it will create the permalink URL out of it. And that's an awesome tool, but they're actually not related to title when it comes to metadata.
So
how many characters?
About us as a page title is too short.
About us as a page title is too short. But you could say about myPreDiabetes. And the cool thing is, because of WordPress, you can go into the Appearance tab and into the Menu tab, and if that's too long for your nav bar, obviously that's going to take up a lot of room on your nav bar visually on your page, you can change that even though the page title is about myPreDiabetes and the URL is about myPreDiabetes, which is great for SEO because it puts your keywords in there.
Right.
You can change it to appear to say on the nav bar about that. So very cool tools there in WordPress to allow us to do our SEO without being penalized visually on the website.
And what were the number of characters again?
10 to 70 in the page title.
The 70 is a long title.
It is a long title. Yeah. So
that's a short paragraph. It's not a long title.
Yeah, I mean, some people go over that though, and because they're trying to fit so many keywords in. Once you start playing the keyword game, then it becomes really easy to pack a description or a page title with too much.
And pre-diabetes is always a keyword. That's
Yeah.
a pretty chunky word.
And so for that, make sure that you use WordPress's links to shorten it.
Yep, absolutely. So 6 pages have a title that's too long or too short.
Okay.
248 pages, and I'll email you this report, by the way.
Okay.
248 pages have a meta description that is too short or too long. So that's the meta description now, not the page title, but the meta description. So that's quite a few. I'm estimating that you have probably somewhere in the 270 pages. 248 of them have a meta description that's too short or too long. Search results limit the number of characters they display for meta descriptions. It's considered best practice to keep meta descriptions to a minimum of 50 and a maximum of 156 characters.
Okay.
So what's a tweet? And this is like 140. The description is no longer than a tweet. Okay. So to keep that in mind, that's not that much information.
Right.
So you got to condense that down, fit your keywords into it.
Right.
You got to get creative with your meta descriptions. My guess is that they probably just aren't there.
Yeah.
You need to go in and put. I noticed that you have the Yoast SEO plugin, which is a great plugin. I'm seeing this on the Built With report that I ran, which just gives you a field on each page within WordPress. Gives you a field where you go in and you just type in the meta description. Perfect.
Yep.
That's a really, really easy way to do it. And I believe the Yoast plugin is free, so that's something that everybody should be using.
I should type that in there.
These are all basics. I mean, these are all
this other one. So
these
which one was it?
Yoast SEO plugin for WordPress.
For the beginner
YOAST.
like me, it makes me put the title,
Like
it makes
toast
me
with a
put a
Y.
meta, it makes me put
Yeah.
like 3 other things, and then I can do an analytics right there and there.
Yeah.
It'll tell me if I've got a green button, a yellow button,
Yeah.
a red button,
It's
and why.
great app.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
absolutely. And understand, this is, this is moving you in the right direction. These things that we're talking about, this is cleaning house. This
Yeah.
isn't going to rank you #1 for all your
No,
keywords.
I get it.
But this is cleaning house, and this is an important step
Right.
forward. So you're not being penalized and moving backwards.
Right.
You're trickling forward. So, and then professional SEO help is what will give you that boost to get to the front. 0 pages or missing page title. That's good. You have a page title on all your pages, which is cool. WordPress is set up to where it wants you to put a page title in there, so that's a hard one to mess up. But you're doing great. 0 pages have meta description that's considered a duplicate, so you haven't copy pasted any meta descriptions. That's good.
2 zeros, you're on the roll.
I know.
You're on a roll.
That one's hard.
Your golf
too.
score's going up.
It's hard not to copy the same meta description. That
Right.
one's hard.
Yeah, but you'll be penalized if you do it, so avoid it. Okay, next one's content issues. You had 72 content issues.
What does that mean?
So remember, we talked about content being being the #1.
80%.
It's 80% of how search is weighted. Thank you, I appreciate that. So more than any image that we talked about, more than any of the metadata, it's the most important thing. So making sure that you're doing your content right is probably the most important. So if there's one section in this that you're gonna pay attention to, this is the one to pay attention to. 21 pages have content with a low word count. Let me say that again. 21 pages have content with a low word count. Pages that have 250 words or less may not perform well in search results. More words give search engine algorithms more context to understand the content and its quality. Best practices suggest publishing content with more than 250 words. I recommend 300.
Yeah.
300 is optimum. And it's because of bounce rate that I recommend that.
Okay.
Never go below 251. 251 words. Never go over 350 words. Okay. You want to stay in that window. You want to use as many of your keywords as you can without making it obnoxious to your readers.
Slight disagreement.
Now,
On the not more than 350 words, it can be advantageous to about once a month do what's called an authoritative blog post, which usually means above 2,000 words.
I agree with that.
And if you're not doing all authoritative, but Google will search that thing and really authoritative content, your website's going to get put alongside, you know, Forbes.com and you know, the sites that do authoritative. You know,
Absolutely.
So if you have the skill word blog post once a month, really beneficial.
But only once. Don't do it every day. Yeah, your average blog post, and that's a good point. And the reason I say no more than 350 words is because of that bounce rate. If you have a high bounce rate, you're also going to get penalized for that. And for those who don't know what bounce rate is, that's when someone enters the site on a certain page and leaves off that page without navigating to any other page on your site. And that happens when people come in, look at how much text is on your page, and then get scared because they don't want to read 2,000 words, and then they leave.
Right.
We're right now, you know, people don't want to read stuff. They want to watch stuff. They want to see pictures. They want to see.
Pages too short, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the point there. So on one side, it's bounce rate that we're worried about, right? If you do too many, and I agree with what Dennis is saying. You should have that authoritative blog post every now and then. It's not going to hurt you from a search engine standpoint to do every blog post 1,500 words, 2,000 words. It's going to hurt you on you know, the readership, basically, is where that's going to hurt you. On the search engine side, to provide enough context for the search engine to do its job and analyze the article and understand what it's about and rank it appropriately.
Now I post, I get that, but I post recipes that aren't going to be that. I put them. You're going to laugh because you know word post. I put them in the Onion. That's where okay, so that's not these 21 pages. Is it?
Could possibly be. If that's all the information that's on the page,
it's just
then
the recipe in the picture.
So if you understand that, if you understand that, then you know where that's coming from. But it's also important to understand that those aren't going to rank, or they may not rank as quickly as.
For sure. Okay.
Yeah. What you might want to do is tell a story about the recipe.
There is another thing you can do to get them ranked quickly.
What's that?
As soon as you write that blog post, go back over to Google Plus and write a post on Google Plus about it with a link back to the original post. And at this point in time, Google is still ranking and crawling websites that have a link from Google Plus to the website. So if you're doing a lot, and it's on target, you're writing recipes, and those recipes make sense for your brand. And adding a whole lot of other fluff to them, they don't make sense to humans anymore, and Google will notice that, and that will affect bounce rate and other things. So you don't really want to add like a whole story about the last time you made this recipe or something weird like that just to get over the 250 mark. You could get around it by making that part of your regular Google Plus posting and getting these things searched through another vehicle or crawled.
I agree.
Crawled.
I agree.
Would there be any benefit to doing the same thing like on Pinterest? Because I don't do Pinterest, but it seems like that's Becky Homeke type stuff.
Not as much benefit.
So that's a different benefit. Okay? Every social site has a different strength and a different weakness. From this website crawled, Google's it.
Yeah.
And Google will that's probably the only site that will ever have that because it's an alignment between Google Search and Google Plus. They're the same thing. You know, Pinterest is something else altogether. But Pinterest can do great things for your SEO. You can, and though that won't get, it could benefit the search. So, ideal game plan. If you are going to use Pinterest, because that's a great place to share recipes, you would write the blog post. You would post to Google Plus to get the blog post crawled, and then an hour or two later, you would post to Pinterest with the right keywords and hashtags to add to the benefit that you did by getting it crawled from Google Plus. So sometimes there's a step-by-step process that, depending on what your goals are, may be the best way to do it. From the standpoint of SEO and searchability, Pinterest is the next best site to Google+.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. No, and it's with that, absolutely what what Dennis said in regards to linking from Google+. That's only going to help, but so will having 250 words on a page. It's only going to help you. So if you can add a story, if you can add maybe a longer description, anything you can think of, get creative. But get get 255 words on there, or at least 251 words. So and I'm sure you probably, if you looked at it, you probably already have.
Nutritional value.
Just with the recipe by itself, you probably already have 120 words. So just double that.
To buy the ingredients. Sites to buy the ingredients.
Exactly. So.
But a story too. People love stories, so if you can make it personal.
So word count's important because of context for the search engine to do its job. 51 pages have duplicate content issues. So somewhere, either, let me read the description here that qualifies this report. So duplicate content generally refers to substantive blocks of content within your website or on another domain that completely match other content or are applicably similar. While search engines do a good job of choosing a vertical in their search results, it's best practice to reduce or eliminate duplicate content as much as possible.
So since you're a WordPress guru, we're almost out of time. I'll ask this one question on this. When I go in to add a blog post, I have a spot to pick where it's going to go. So is this, that goes under a recipe, or is this like health and wellness, or is this exercise, or is this from a doctor? Like, what is the post about?
Yeah, category.
Yeah. So the category. So if I pick multiple categories, does it take that blog post and put them in the multiple categories, which is where this is coming up?
It's no, it's not. It's not duplicating that page that way. That's just a little tag that's applied in the code.
Okay.
So it's not duplicating the page. This could be pages.
Like the back of a book, where you've got you can find information about recipes on these 16 pages. Okay, when you put in the categories, it's a way of curating the content.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, that's good, because I have been doing that, and I thought, maybe that's why that 51 skyrocketed.
No.
That one page that I wrote is now in 3 spots, and I'm getting 51.
Right.
No,
just like Dennis said.
Thing to do.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing.
That's a good practice.
Yeah.
It's
Some
the
people
multiple
disagree
tab.
and think that you should keep not too many categories. But me, I think if it fits well, use it.
Yeah.
Because you want
And
people
categories, I
to
don't
be able
have
to
a problem
find
with.
what they want.
Yeah.
And that just makes it easier for them to do that.
So I have no idea why pages are duplicate, because I'm not doing
Well, it could be either on site. Remember, we had the problem with duplicate page titles, duplicate URLs. So that could be the same problem. You've got some hidden pages somewhere that maybe your developer used to develop that content, and then reposted it when he wanted to put it live.
Right.
And they're just floating out there somewhere, but they're indexable, and so Google's saying, hey, you've got duplicate pages.
Okay.
That may be the case. We'd have to look into it. Or it may be that you or someone else went and copied and pasted from a different domain content into page case. So it could be any one of those things.
Couldn't have been me, because I don't know what you said. So if I'm doing that, I'm smarter than I think.
If that's the case, and you have kind of this development page, and then you have the page that you're actually publishing.
Right.
Is it better to then go and delete that development page, or is that something that would go in that robots.txt file?
You could put it in the robots.txt file. I don't recommend doing that. If you're using WordPress, which I'd recommend using, you can do what's called a draft mode, where it will save it in the database, so that it's not even a page yet, but it allows you to work on it in draft mode. And then when you hit publish, it'll publish it. So you don't need a developmental page for a specific,
Yeah, but we changed. I'm almost wondering, we started in a different template. and started building content as we were building it, and then I moved it to the new template with the round buttons that you see now. So I think they might have just put it over. I don't know what happened, but I'm almost positive this is an old problem because I had a bad web person. And it just has never been cleaned up because nobody ran any, nobody, meaning I, did not run any analytics because I didn't know what I didn't know that I didn't know.
So give us your little testimonial. Tell us a little bit about your experience with a bad web designer. And
well, I mean, you can see now. I mean, obviously, they promised the world. They look professional. They listed their clients, but I didn't have any of the questions, so I took them at face value. Sure, you've done other clients. You've had good clients. And throughout the process, I don't think I'm that picky of a web person because I didn't know what I needed or what I wanted. I just know that I had content. It basically fits in these areas: exercise, diet, some other things for prediabetes. I have a product page. I use Infusionsoft. I didn't think it was that difficult. And then as the first one came up, it was horrible, and the aesthetics were horrible. So I went and found the template, and apparently I was told it was an older template because it was the round, but I don't know. And this is all foreign to me. It's not even speaking anything.
But it's the experience that most people
horrible.
have.
I did not have a checklist, so I didn't know what to ask, and I didn't know what to give. And I'm almost assuming that the things that I gave in the past copied from one to the other, and I was just hanging out. So there was done. There was no. I just fired them because it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing it myself, which is not the best way to go. It is a way to go. But now you can see what
a lot of people end up doing that too because they do spend all their money with someone who doesn't give them what they want.
Right.
So it's so important to choose the right people to start with.
Yes.
And so again, that's one more thing I want to reiterate is we're wrapping up today because we have so much more still to go through.
Yeah. And next week I want to hit more on the design. And this was more development.
Content.
We want to hit design and content next week.
Exactly. But I just want to stress that all of these things are things that we cover in the 3-day Web Ready Blueprint System workshop, our live workshop.
Absolutely.
And you can see already you are going to more than save yourself
Oh, yeah, exactly.
a lot of time, pain, and money by being to the workshop and learning these things that you need to know so that you don't make those mistakes.
Yeah, that's very true.
Or fix the ones that I've got.
Exactly.
Because I'm already existing, right? I'm backwards learning. I'm already up and running, but I got to go back and fix.
Yep. And a lot of times it's a lot more expensive to go back and fix things than it would be just to start all the way.
Exactly.
So which is kind of what you did. So just want to stress that again because it's so crucial and it's such a problem where that happens. You want to make sure that you're working with a good web designer and that you know the right questions to ask so you can determine whether they're a good designer or developer.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
So we'll wrap up there today. Is that all right?
Yeah,
is there anything
absolutely.
We missed? Okay.
Well, there's a lot we
there's
haven't
a lot
covered
we
yet.
haven't covered yet. So we'll wrap up with that today, but just know that there is a lot more of real meat coming your way.
Yeah, next week, Tuesday.
Really important things. So next week, same time, same place. Web Ready Blueprint System, 9 a.m., 9:02 a.m. Mr. Duce.
Mountain Time.
Mountain Standard Time. And don't forget that that Mitch will have a special offer for some of those of you that do need a web designer that you can count on. So
and I'll make sure that we throw into the conversation for this week's show the link
to
his event.
Yep.
We should also be putting in a link to the
Web Ready Blueprint System workshops. Yeah, so just go to webreadyblueprintsystem.com and there's a free video training there as well that also goes through some of these points that you need to know about. And go to our events page and look up the workshop when the next one is. The next one is, this will be posted for a long time, but go to the website and you'll find when the next workshops are. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks so much.